First, Mr. Wajahat Habib. So if you permit me, I'll just
Yes,
start.
yes, yes.
Respected Vice Chancellor, we're delighted to welcome you to the concluding session of this 2.5-day conference, international conference, a very energetic and reflective couple of days, and certainly one of the biggest conferences of this type on the Northeast, the largest in the series in terms of scholars, ideas, and papers. We've had nearly 60 papers presented in some 14 sessions, including parallel ones. And this has taken place as part of a series of 2 yearly conferences held at a gap of 2 years. The first in Göttingen University, then in Vienna, University of Vienna, and now here. And it has strayed a bit from the initial focus on ethnography, but expanded to include other social science disciplines. We are today privileged really to have two major thought leaders from really of the world with us today, Professor Ramchandra Guha and Professor Willem van Schendel. I don't propose to sum up the conference or its leading points, but simply to share a few things. That I think the sessions were able to capture the sweep of history and the networks of opportunity, the pathways of new research, even as paper presenters and scholars shared cross-border connectivities and narratives. It also provided an opportunity to engage, I believe, with each other. That's very much part of the second theme of networking, and re-energize and reimagine a larger idea of India, of our northeastern region, and its connected world, a theme that Professor Willem van Schendel reflected upon so elaborately and so brilliantly in the inaugural address. The connected world being both inner and external. We are very grateful to Jamia's administration, sir, for its continuous presence and support throughout. And I wanted to highlight that yesterday we've tried to continue our campaign in a way to develop this cultural bridge and connect between the Northeast and the mainland in quotes, robustly with I think a magical musical evening which had a wonderful performance from the Bob Dylan of the Northeast, Lou Major. He's 68 years and still performs as if he's 40 years younger. I have two small announcements for the conference. Before the conference, I was in Sydney on a brief vacation, and the University of New South Wales, the editor of the South Asia Journal, has offered to publish 6 papers in their journal from the conference, and we are considering a special issues journal with more papers. For me, this has truly has been the presentation of many new narratives, new research, courageous yet deeply rooted to the land and its people. Some of it is truly path-breaking. But I want to close here with a special word of appreciation and thanks to my small, young, and hardworking team, without whom this would not have happened. And I want to acknowledge Dr. Amarjit Singh, if I wish they'll stand up. If they're here, if they're not, they wave their hands. If they're not here, we acknowledge them in absentia. Coco, Anamika is at the back. You stand up and don't be afraid to be seen. Anamika Debroy, and Arianga, who has a much longer name, which I find very difficult to pronounce. I see Reshmi Banerjee, who's visiting us from SOAS in London. I recognize also Fatima Khan, Nizamuddin, Yusuf, and our young researcher who's just joined us a few days ago, Dipanjan. Okay, in the back. Nafuz and Bharat. So we thank them all, and I would now request the Vice Chancellor to address us.
Good morning and Assalamu alaikum. Professor Willem van Schendel, Professor Ramchandra Guha, Professor Misra, Janab Wajahat Habibullah Sahab, Sanjoy Hazarika, my other colleagues, friends and participants of this seminar. It's very nice to see such a huge crowd which is totally international. So that shows the dynamism of the leadership that Sanjoy has been providing to this center to have such a beautiful conference. And then I did miss the last night event that you had. I want that you should do it again sometime when I am around. So it's a great occasion to be here, and I see that there were lots of dynamism, lots of good papers presented. This center came into being in 2009, as I understand, and it became independent center in 2011. Although I was not there, I have just come few months back here, so I just try to get what is happening. So they have been doing lots of working on critical issues of the area in Northeast, and also at the policy level they are contributing, particularly related to governance, gender issues of discrimination, water resources that they're doing, even with Dhaka University, as I understand, climate change, creating a forum for the young scholars, particularly to address many of these issues in the Northeast. This seminar, as Sanjoy has been telling, and I understand, was very successful, and then we have participation from lots of countries, and particularly the inaugural speech by Professor Willem van Schendel was very important and very exciting to look at the northeastern issues in a new perspective, which I am sure will open up lots of new areas of research at this center and many other parts in the Northeast. We also have Professor Ramchandra Guha, who is well-known personality and for his contributions, and I am sure our students and researchers took full benefit of his presence, and if not, they should still try to hold him, catch him, and learn whatever is possible, and also get new insights into these issues that has been discussed during this seminar. 60 young research scholars have given their papers, which is a very good contributions, and it has also said these papers which are published they are going to have some sort of special publications. Yeah? So that is going to be very important, because at present we have very little information in the country and abroad about the Northeast, the richness of Northeast, the special traditions that they have, and to understand the culture. At the same time, there are some conflict issues also to be understood, and try to find ways and means to address these problems. So I am sure this conference must have contributed to many of these. And then I was told that you have also 3 exhibitions which is going on. So, and that was well attended. And then, as mentioned by Sanjay, that we had a very good this cultural program, okay, particularly, and I'm very happy and also proud to say that all the difficulties that our students and researchers from Northeast that they are facing in other parts of the country, at least in Jamia it is zero tolerance. Not a single problem has come, and it's very good. And then this is the only center in the country where we have this tradition and we are trying to address this. So I look forward for the growth of this center more and more, and with the help of all the scholars from within the country and abroad. So I congratulate Sanjay and his group for making such a good symposium, and I will be always there to help you in any future efforts in this direction. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the presence of Vice Chancellor of Sikkim University, Professor Tankasuba, who is here with us, and we're very happy he's joined us, and perhaps he will also feel led to join the conversation. Professor,
okay, and before I go there, we have some very important issues that the accreditation team, it's called NAC, is coming to our university. So we have lots of things. 2 days I have been away because of some other pressing issues. So I will be here for some time, but definitely by 12:30 I should leave. So even if the discussion is on, please don't mind if I leave in between. Thank you so much.
Why don't you do it?
before
The session begins.
Dr. Mahesh Rangarajan takes the chair, may I request Dr. Melanie Wendelhelsen of the University of Vienna to please come, and perhaps from there you can read a remembrance to Dr. Biancasson.
We want to remember Dr. Biancasson, who was one of the organizers of the conference we had in Vienna in 2013. And she was involved in the first discussions regarding the organization of this conference, and she passed away in June last year, 2014, and she was 40 years old, 46, sorry. She was an historian of Zo and Chin on both sides of the Indo-Myanmar border, and she was the daughter of late Dr. Wimson Swantak, who was a very famous writer about the Zo Chin of Myanmar, India, and Bangladesh. And his work became central to the Zo reunification movement. Bianca's thesis was entitled "The Construction of Zo Highlanders of Burma, India, and Bangladesh Through Colonial Narrative, 1783 to 1914." And she passed it at SOAS in June 2013. So it was she passed it just before the conference we had in Vienna. So she managed to write it while organizing the conference. And she always said that she hadn't been working enough at school earlier, and this was a great achievement for her, and also the fact that it was accepted without any correction. And also, she was very proud to continue her father's work. We learned recently that SOAS is going now to organize the publication of her dissertation. She also was involved in researches with several persons among us. Willem Singh, for example, they were having a research project together. She was also close to Willem, who is here. And I think it's also her personality, which was something very striking for all of us. She had this amazing sense of contact and bringing people together. And so she's very much part of this cycle, the cycle unifying these conferences. And the beginning of her academic career was linked to this cycle of conferences. So I think she will remain present in our hearts and kind of a supportive presence of this continuing. And I also hope that her PhD will encourage young researchers or just researchers on this topic and on this area, which is very central to all the work the researches we are doing. Thank you.
Good morning. It's a privilege to be here today. I'm sure that our panelists do not need an introduction, but formalities must be complied with. Professor Willem van Schendel is a leading scholar in this field, known for many years, and has consistently done something I believe has been happening over the last 3 days, which is to cross boundaries, both literal, metaphorical, historical. Professor Udayon Misra, who is one of the most respected voices writing on the region, has always raised issues of much wider significance. And last by no means least, Professor Guha, whose last 2 books are fascinating because the title tells you so much, India After Gandhi and Gandhi Before India. I've been told there are certain major issues we'd like to flag. I'm going to request Sanjoy Hazarika to very briefly say a few words. We'll then have the panelists speaking for 5 minutes each, and then we'll keep the conversation. I think we have quite a bit of time till 1:15. So without further ado, Sanjoy.
Shall I just mention the 3?
Sure.
We'd thought of 3 or 4 issues that perhaps each of us could speak for 5 minutes each, and then open it up to a conversation among ourselves. The first is the challenge of governance. The second is the idea of connectivity. And the third are issues related to conflict and ethnicity and mobilization. May I start?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. You know, all of us have a life outside this room. We have families, we have friends, we go home, we go to other places, we travel, we have conversations, we listen to music, different kinds of music. And over the last 15 years, I have been working on the Brahmaputra and the people living on the islands of the Brahmaputra. And about 15, 16 years ago, I was traveling with a filmmaker, Jahnu Barua. We are making a film on the Brahmaputra, traveling from the Sangpo in Tibet right down to the Bay of Bengal. And we were in Assam, and we are crossing to the island of Majuli, which is one of the larger islands in a river system. And we came across the story of a young woman, Mishing tribe woman, who had died in childbirth because she couldn't get to the hospital in time. And I said, this is horrible, tragic, and so on. The next day, when we learnt of the story in more detail, it became more dreadful. The young woman had a complicated pregnancy. She was brought by stretcher from a village to the ferry ghat. They missed the ferry because it was late and there were only 2 ferries during the day. There's no night navigation on the Brahmaputra even today. They spent a night on a damp winter night in Majuli next to the river, and they traveled the following morning to Nimati Ghat, but she passed away on the boat before they reached the other side. So we had a loss of a mother and a child unborn.